The Trump administration aiming to crack down on soaring egg prices, looking to spend as much as $1 billion to address costs over a 5-point strategy laid out by the Agriculture Secretary in the Wall Street Journal. Meantime, Vital Farms, a pasture-raised egg producer, reporting earnings this morning, noting they expect supply constraints to ease into the second half. Joining us now is Vital Farms CEO Russell Diaz-Canseco. It's great to have you, Russell. So when does this calm down, prices and supply issues?
It's a great question, certainly the one on everyone's mind in this country, at least. You know, for those of your audience who are new to the Vital Farms story, we're actually a relatively small but fast-growing egg brand in the United States with just single-digit market share. But I think what's pretty unique about us is that we've got a very different approach to the supply chain than I think much of the industry, working with over 425 small family farmers across the country to bring millions of eggs to the market. The net result of which is that while we've seen devastation in the American laying flock, 27 million birds so far this year alone, we haven't had any of our farms affected in that same time period. And so we're working like everybody else to bring more eggs to the American public. And I'm as anxious as anyone to see those prices come back down.
How much is your price for a dozen eggs right now?
You know, that's really up to the individual retailer. We have not raised prices in over a year. I know that the average retail price has more than doubled since that time. In many cases, we are a premium egg with a premium price, but I've heard stories that in some cases, we're actually now one of the cheaper eggs on the market since we haven't raised prices ourselves in over a year.
How do you look at the industry, though? I mean, clearly, so you've been insulated and your supply is good and you haven't had to slaughter as many chickens, it sounds like. But how bad do you think it's going to get before it gets better?
You know, I really appreciate the focus that the Trump administration is putting on this issue. And I feel so positive, optimistic about how their efforts will impact the state of the industry. My focus is really on my own network of small family farms, growing that network and bringing more and more eggs to the American public month by month by month. We're expanding our processing capacity, we're expanding our farm network, and that's our contribution to this effort.
I mean, one of the things that they want to do, first of all, they want to spend on research, import. I mean, is that a solution? What are the solutions that you like in here? It's a 5-point plan. There's a lot going on there. Regulations is part of it, too. I wonder how big of a problem that is in your industry.
You know, what I've seen is that I think that those policies are really designed to address the challenges that the big industry players are facing. Things like helping them repair their barns to reduce the risk that pests get into the barns, or maybe bringing in imported eggs. And I think to the extent that any of those things can help reduce the price of eggs for Americans, I think that's all terrific. They largely don't apply to us. We haven't had the same challenges with avian influenza, and we aren't seeing the same kind of price increases on our products that I think the rest of the industry is. So for us, it's about not so much waiting and hoping for a government solution. It's really about sticking to our own knitting and running a different approach.
But when I look at your stock price, I mean, it's done very well since you've been public, and I assumed it was because of the higher price of eggs.
You know, we went public in 2020, and we've more than tripled the size of our business since then because we've built a brand that resonates with American consumers. We're working to become the most trusted food company in this country, and it's a very different sort of purpose than becoming the biggest egg company or getting to increase the prices of our eggs. It's about bringing more and more opportunities to small family farmers and releasing more and more chickens from sort of the challenges of the factory farming model. And we're showing that new approach can work.
Well, it's an interesting story, Russell, and very relevant right now for folks. So thank you for joining us to talk about it.
Thanks for having me.